Ooh, the Rivendell set is officially out. I've seen people I know get their hands on it. I'm literally frothing at the mouth for this thing. I can't get mine just yet, so I have to be a little patient and wait until I can guarantee the space for it. Thankfully though, it should be around for quite a while. I can't see this retiring anytime soon. That is genuinely a pretty good thing about this set. While looking over some of the amazing details, I was thankful to see that the minifigures, they actually aren't too different from the 2012 releases. Sure, the details are better, significantly, objectively, but they haven't actually made any drastic changes in my eyes. In fact, some of the areas for improving the 2012 figures are still needed to be improved here. I thought I would showcase the 2012 figure collection that I have, and show you the way that I improved on my minifigures. If you enjoy this custom figure showcase, subscribing helps to support the channel. So this is the lineup of original Fellowship members. We had a Legolas, Gandalf, Boromir, Aragorn, Merry, Pippin, Sam, Gimli, and a Frodo. These figures are all released in the 2012 wave of Lord of the Rings, and I feel like we can do better by today's standards, especially now that the Rivendell figures have been revealed. I want to start off with the Frodo minifigure, one of my favourite ones. I really love the green of the cape, that is very Fellowship of the Ring. Throughout the other films, he ends up having a grey cape, which I believe was used in the Shelob attack set, but there were a couple of other features that were missing within the Frodo minifigure that I think need some improvement. Now with the modern Hobbit figures, they actually ended up giving them all dual molded legs so that their feet are exposed. This was something that was missing from these earlier figures. I don't have enough pieces to do that, but what I do have are pieces to improve that torso. So I've given him some white arms now, which is something that I used to do with a lot of my Harry Potter figures as well when I was younger, to inflict the rolled up sleeves look. This is how he appears throughout most of Return of the King, and I think that this design looks really good for him. I've also gone ahead and grabbed a grey cape, bearing in mind that one of the Frodo figures did feature a grey cape if you have that set. So I think the grey cape really sells the style and that design. I think that really brings it home, but it's still missing one little thing that none of the sets gave any of the hobbits. The older style Lego backpack piece, because I think that this still represents the older style of Lego minifigures. Now this is Frodo as he appears in Return of the King. I've given him the white arms, he has his grey cape from that Shelob set, and I've also given him a backpack. If you want one final inclusion to really go all out in improving this Frodo, this one is a bit of a crazy one, but you could always take some paint and paint over a spear sting. Well, Lego never gave us a blue sting, so when I was a kid I had to just make my own, and I decided to paint one of the very many spear sting pieces that they give you in the set. Honestly, from afar, I don't think it looks too bad. After improving Frodo, it makes sense to then go and improve his best pal, Samwise Gamgee. I simply take away the sword, I add in one of those backpacks, and I swap over one of the hair pieces. Sam's backpack piece was really old, it snapped at the neck while I was applying it, but I gave him one of those frying pans as well, and the hair piece that we'll be swapping over is Merry's. We managed to do a 2-in-1. If you give Sam that ginger hair from Merry and you swap Sam's hair over to Merry, I think both look a lot more alike how they look in the movie, and they also look a little bit closer to their actors' appearances as well. Now for Gandalf, I have some pretty fantastic ideas in my mind, but I don't have any of those pieces on hand to make that figure happen. What I do have on hand is a better custom staff, which they actually use in the video game. This was the staff that they give him in the Lego video game. He has a couple of extra pieces on top that just make the stick a little bit better and not as plain and bare as it actually appears. In the updated Rivendell set, they still haven't changed his staff piece, but nonetheless, if you want, you can just give him a couple of extra pieces. It just makes it a little bit better in my eyes. Gimli's pretty much close to perfect in my eyes. There was only one little thing that I thought was missing from him, and that was the use of a cape. Quite a few characters from the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit line use this cape. Here's how I got mine, and this is the final result for Gimli. I think it really sells that figure home. I had an action figure of Gimli as a kid who had this cape, so that's always my go-to look and style of how Gimli should be appearing. Aragorn also requires only a couple of simple modifications to make him look a little bit more unique than how he looks, especially given that the same Aragorn figure was re-released quite a few times throughout all of those sets. So you simply have to go into your LEGO Star Wars minifigures box, I know you will have one, try your best to search for a Emperor Palpatine, realize that he's all the way at the bottom but you actually have an easy to get to figure on the top like I did. Give him the cape and the hood. While you're at it, give him a bow and arrow and a quiver from any of your other dwarf figures as well. And here you have Aragorn as his appearance as Strider in the Fellowship of the Ring. Again, it just adds for a different alternative appearance. I wouldn't want to personally have him like this always, but it would have been nice if we got a little bit of variety with some of the Aragorn minifigures. I always felt that Legolas was also a pretty great figure. The new one has done a lot of improvements, or if you're not a fan of them, then I guess that they've made him a lot weaker. I think they've gone really overboard with the new additions to that figure. All he really needs is a few small things. I gave him Éomer's cape here, and I also gave him a quiver. The final design ends up looking like this. The hairpiece does mean that you have to really jam it on there, but it is possible. Pretty easy as well, in all honesty. I wasn't originally going to count this because there's no way LEGO would ever release a figure like this, but a lot of people online seem to do this, and that's fine by me. I don't actually have any improvement ideas for Boromir and Pippin. They are pretty much rock solid to me, so I will do the next best thing and give you 2 bonus figures instead. LURTZ never quite looked right to me. There was always just something that was there was always something missing. Too simple of details, I think, especially with that hairpiece. The best hairpiece for him was going to come out only a year or so later in the Hobbit sets, with this character right here. I really think that the Thorin hairpiece just looks a whole lot better for him, and it works for that character. It's also built to hold an arrow quiver. LURTZ does have a bow and arrow in the movie. You could also always take a regular orc figure and put all of LURTZ's bits on him, but because it's that old reddish brown, I am not risking that for a video. King Theoden is one of the first minifigures that I originally experimented on improving with different pieces, because I was blown away that there is printing underneath his chest armor there. Underneath his armor, he has just regular clothing on, which means you could totally make a unarmored King Theoden, which is really cool. One of the pieces that you need is actually included in the exact same set as Theoden. It's this red cape. This is Theoden as he could appear unarmored. The video game gave us this hairpiece, which is from the Alien Conquest set, so I snagged mine from that one. However, in modern days, we also received a much better hairpiece from the form of the Mad Eye Moody minifigure. I think while color-wise it might not match his beard and eyebrows, it is a much better hairpiece and more accurate to him in the movie as opposed to that other hairpiece. That other hairpiece does keep to the same style as the 2012 LEGO Lord of the Rings line though, so if you want a more proper, updated one, you'd go for this one. And so that ends up being my newly improved LEGO Lord of the Rings figures. We have an improvement of the entire Fellowship plus a bonus of Theoden and LURTZ. There are always other figures that could be improved, and there are other improvements that could be made. If I left anything out, you could always let me know down in the comments what is missing. If you enjoyed this, then liking and subscribing would help supporting the channel. As always, take care.